Hello again, Steve here. I said that I was going to talk a little bit about oaths of allegiance, and the reason is because I think it pertains to us to some extent, although most people who were born within a fictional boundary called a country, probably most people don't actually swear an oath of allegiance. It's just assumed that you have. Now, I did. And I don't know exactly which one I did. I assume it's just the basic one, as well as probably additional oaths. Because I was in the Canadian military one time, years ago, and I do recall swearing an oath of some sort. But I don't know, like I say, I don't know exactly which one it was. But I wanted to talk a little bit about it, just to, because I've talked a few times about how we create things in our minds and we dream them up as real when more and more and more people, when we have the confirmation bias of millions of people believing the same fantasy. Religion is like this, constructs of, there's millions of gods in the world, and is everybody right? I don't know, but these are creations people come up with, right? The same can be said for a nation. An earthworm crawling underneath the ground doesn't notice when it gets to the so-called Canada-US border. It doesn't notice it. Why doesn't it notice it? Because there's no border there. It doesn't exist except in our minds and on our maps that we draw and stuff like that. Oh, somebody will put a little post here, a little monitor here and there and so on. But that's just, you can put that crap anywhere. It doesn't change the planet. You can't see it from space, for example. So I just thought I would go through it just to give, give an idea of how phony this stuff is, and how when one wakes up to it, it has no legitimacy. There's no need to go through the process of saying, I recant everything I said, because it'd be sort of like if I was walking around sleepwalking, speaking gibberish, that there would be no reason for me to make a public statement that I'm going to publicly dissolve myself of that gibberish I was just saying, because it's complete gibberish. So it starts out by saying, I'll just read it through first of all. I would have said something like this, and it would have been somebody standing in front of me as a public, some sort of a public officer of the cult, and he would have said, a few words, and I say it back to him with my hand up, or Bible or something, some sort of ritual, standing on one toe, lifting a hair up, or just some bizarre thing that somebody came up with, that once again everybody believes it has some validity, so it does in the minds, in the dream world mind, right? Now, so here's approximately what, it's Wikipedia, but it's here anyways. I, and then the name. Suppose it was Steve Maloney, right? And I probably would have said a full name. I probably would have said given names and the war name, or the surname, or the franchise name, Maloney, which is not my name, by the way, because it wasn't given to me. The given names were Stephen and Andrew, not Maloney. So, but it would have been said as that. So anyway, I'll go through it first, then I'll come back and pick it apart. Do swear that I will faithfully, I'll start again. I name. Do swear and will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II, with most of them capital letters, so Queen of Canada, her heirs, successors, so help me God. So first of all, right off the top of the hop, there's a fantasy right in the very first. I name. I, Stephen Andrew Maloney. First of all, I can't be Stephen Andrew Maloney. Stephen Andrew Maloney is just a name. I can't be a name. Remember, I talked about it a while back that I have this record of live birth, which shows when my mom put her signature saying that I was born, I came in to breathe air on a certain date. It wasn't for about 2 or 3 weeks later that the name was registered. So in this system, I didn't have a name. I was actually nameless for that period of time. Therefore, I can't be the name, right? So this is obviously fake. I, the name, it doesn't say I being a man who is commonly referred to by this name. It doesn't say that. It says I, the name. I, Steve. So you can already see it's like a game. It's like if we're going to stand up and play a little chess game here, and I say, I, the pawn, on the front row over towards the left. That's the game, right? You can't be the pawn. The pawn is just something you're using at the moment. Same with the name. That's all it is, just a title. It's like if you have a ship, it's got a name on the side of it. Well, if you take that name off and throw it into the ocean, the ship is still there. It's just a nameplate, just an emblem. So, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance. Well, once again, if what I'm talking about, if I was to say, I, big fat elephant, do solemnly swear, well, everybody would know that I would be a complete asinine crazy man at that point, right? But we don't think of it when it's something else. But it's just as asinine to say I, so-and-so name. So a name can't do anything, and therefore it cannot swear, it cannot be faithful, it cannot bear any allegiance. And then, so suppose it could. Suppose I actually said that I am a man with this name, and I'm swearing allegiance. Then I get to Her with a capital H, Majesty, Queen Elizabeth II. What is that? What is that? Once again, Her Majesty. Well, throw that out. That doesn't mean anything. Majesty? What is this somebody's greater than somebody else? That makes no sense. Queen Elizabeth II? That's once. Queen is just a title. Elizabeth just a name, which is a title too. The second? Well, it doesn't matter. If it was the millionth, that doesn't mean anything. There's no sense putting that there. But it's the same, except it's even more convoluted than just saying Steve Maloney. To say Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, it's just more word games, just more verbal diarrhea, basically. It doesn't mean anything. It's not in reference to any. It doesn't say the woman who lives in such and such a area or whatever, who goes by the name of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. It doesn't say that. It's a title. And you could stuff anybody into that. You could have. So it doesn't. So it's like, I, one phony, swear allegiance to another phony. It's all just nonsense. Her heirs and successors. Well, nobody knows who that is. So how can you swear allegiance? Even if I was a name, how can I swear an allegiance to in perpetuity without knowing who they are? It doesn't make any sense. Don't know who they are. Heirs and successors, if you look them up, they're just persons. Persons are corporations. And a man cannot swear. And also, too, these are all fabrications of man. So man cannot swear allegiance to what he made. Man could swear allegiance to another man or woman. Man could swear allegiance to what he or she considers as his or her creator. nature or whatever, to Mother Earth even or whatever, but you can't swear allegiance to something that you've made because it's subject to you, not the other way around. So help me God. So help me God. So even if I had said, I the man, so on and so on, so help me God, which basically means that, I can't do this anyway. If I need help, if I'm going to say I'm going to do this, but it's conditional on you helping me, well then I'm not going to do it. I mean, because if you walk away, then I'm not going to do it anyways. Why did I bother saying that I was going to do it? It's like, I'm going to go to work, and I'm going to agree to the whole thing. I'm going to sign the whole deal, and then, oh, by the way, you got to drive me to work every day. And you're going, screw you, I didn't sign up for it. So, and then of course God is once again a fantastical construct, which everybody's got their own take on it. There's millions of them. So, I see this as full of fictions. The name, I'm saying that I'm a fiction, and that I can do things as a fiction, which doesn't make any sense. I'm swearing allegiance to another fiction, and that fiction's heirs and successors, which are fictions also, and then I'm asking for help from a fiction. So the whole oath of allegiance, every one of them, of these government-style oaths or allegiance that I've ever seen, and it's easy to pick them apart, is just phony word games that are no different than standing up and, making up some kind of a game, King Arthur and his round table or something like that between a bunch of people, and we just make up an oath for the purposes of the game. And we know in the game that it's all just characters, right? We're all just on the board game as characters, and we agree to do certain things as characters. That's all it is. But the weirdest thing about this, and why Larkin Rose, I believe, calls it the most dangerous superstition, is that unlike on the board game, we actually believe this shit is real. You see people in suits, which, it's got to be some of the phoniest people in the world, but they stand up there and their faces, to me, I sincerely believe, I don't have any reason not to believe it, that they believe it's real. They stand up and they put their hand up and they say, I, so-and-so, honorable, blah, 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 swear that I will do this and do that. And of course, well, I mean, they believe it at the time, I guess, but they obviously don't believe it very long because they just completely violate whatever they just said a lot of the time when they walk out. But they swear allegiance, They create themselves into a phony character, and then they swear allegiance to another phony character, and then they ask a phony character for help, and upholding their phony character's allegiance to another phony character. That's the gist of it. And yeah, I just wanted to talk about it. Why is this important upon improving the quality of our lives? Well, once again, just to realize how we talk. We talk in abstraction so often. We talk of ourselves as phony characters, as personalities, as legal persons, and all sorts of stuff. We talk about other things as such, and we elicit support from characters we really don't know exist. So it would probably help us to just at least start to gather a little bit more of a reasoned approach to things. And from my experience in myself, what helps me with my quality of life is continuing to realize that the only thing I can prove that I am is man. And rather than saying that I am Stephen Andrew Maloney or anything like that, I'd rather say that the only thing I can be pretty confident of is that I am man. I am man of the masculine form. And I'm commonly known by other men and women as Steve. You know, I don't, and if I do sometimes say that I am Steve, it's a mistake because I was used to saying that for so long. I try not to say that anymore. I try not to say that I am Steve because it's a lie. It's nonsense. I'm not Steve. Steve is just a name. I can't be, you know, I have a name. That's like saying I am car because I have a car. That's nonsense too, right? Connected to it all? Sure. But am? No. Am is reserved for like the essence, I would say. Essence of what we are. And the essence of what we are is, call it human being, call it Homo sapien, or, you know, woman, man, whatever we want to call it. That's what we are fundamentally, that we know of. Everything else we sort of derive and intuit and so on. But it's not as complete, I don't think, as the essential nub of what we are, which is this sentient individual beings walking around interacting with other sentient human beings and animals, the world, life, air, animals, you know, creatures of all kinds. We are, that's what we are, as far as we know, right? And I think it's important to keep coming back to that as a foundation and realize that when we do make abstractions, it's for convenience or for games and this sort of thing. But we got to be careful, because if we think that we're something else and people can attach obligations to that as something else, we get ourselves into a slave situation with these fantasies like oaths of allegiance that when we wake up, eventually we realize, holy crap, I was living this fantasy through this oath. It doesn't make any sense. There's no need to go onto the public record to discount it, although that might help in some cases. But, well, once again, you know, if we were deluded enough to say that I, big fat elephant, do solemnly swear that I will uphold the Empire of Narnia or something like that, in some sort of a stupor, in a drunken stupor or something. When we finally woke up, we wouldn't have to go on the public record and say, well, I didn't really mean that I was a big fat elephant. No, because it's complete lunacy, right? And it's the same with the rest of this stuff. The only thing that makes this seem less lunatic is that almost everybody believes the lunacy is truth. That's what makes it weird. Nevertheless, within our heart of hearts, we know now that it's lunacy, and we can just let go of it and be real. Be real. Keep it real. Great chatting again. This is Steve. I'll sign off for now. We'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.